Now here's an example of a loom without a break, and of course you can't get any tension, and tension is essential when you're weaving. So therefore, on this loom, they used a piece of wood that has a groove here, and a groove here that was used in rope making. Now whether this was cut off, I do not know, but it fits in here beautifully. Fits right down inside the center of your box. And it forms a break for you. And now you have a break. And here is an example of your checkerboard. Here's your bleached, here's your blue. And then on the lower section, here's your bleached and here's your blue. So this way you have a checkerboard, which I was just describing. And then you raise it above the center row of violets again, form a new shed, and come back in the opposite direction. So you just continue weaving like this until you have no more yarn remaining. Now the thrifty Pennsylvania Germans, when they were weaving, normally you would cut your yarn from here, because any yarn you had from here to here would just be waste. But the thrifty Pennsylvania Germans did not cut it. They wove up to about here. And then from here they would knot it and tie it on and still continue to weave through their slits and eyelets until maybe they just had an inch or two. That way it extended the length of the tape. It wasn't a flat piece, but it was, and then they would braid the final end of it. So whenever you see a piece of braided tape, usually you know it's the end of the loom. And not as point of it, not any yarn was wasted. The other looms that you see here are knee looms of various stages. This is a 19th century loom. There's early 19th century loom. Here we have a heddle, and over here is a heddle. Now this heddle no doubt was placed into the front of a box loom, and because some box looms the heddles move up and down, so this is just a heddle. That one we have here is one that the yarn would hang on to the loom. In other words, you would have one end attached to your hook. Back of it would be yarn ends would be attached to a hook or a doorknob or something. At the front part where you do the weaving would be attached to your belt, and you would leave it, pull it up for one shed and just leave it hang for the second shed. The same way with this one, you can see that the part of it is missing, as on that one over there. And on this loom, which is dated 1786, which I don't know if that's correct or not, but this is an interesting loom in that the points, the slats are all pointed. This is an old loom and has on a piece of old tape, which I never removed from the, it also has a single row of violets here, another row of violets here. So there were ways that you could use both eyelets at the same point in time. On this loom, I bought this from a dealer in Massachusetts, and it's featured in a book, and it's a beautiful example. It's nice and large and has a good concave cut out here with a decorative heart. And this is not a heavy loom, but here again, the ends, and I have them chained here, would be attached to a hook or something, and you do your weaving on the front. This is a single row of eyelets, and you lift from one shed and lower from the second shed. This was a loom made by a craftsman, someone who had the tools and the techniques in order to make a very decorative loom. The steps that you see here, the nails, the reel. Here again, in the center of this loom, you have a roller to take up your tape. You have one here for your yarn ends. And at the back of this loom, it's fit so that it would fit over a table. And when you're working, you would pull it up against the end of the loom and you would have a stop. This is very detailed. You have your compass here and then you have your markings on the back here. As well as here you have Marie Nolte and the date 1768. And then on the front of the loom, you also have the compass here. And there is some markings at the top here. They're not as distinct as the others. The interesting part about this loom is that on it is a piece of a pattern that came from an 18th or 19th century bed case, and it's very interesting in that there are different colors, and in this case you have a rose or a red, colors that were very unusual in this area of Pennsylvania. You had your blues and your browns, bleached and natural, but very seldom did you have any color of red. And so this came out of the Berks County area, this pattern. Now this is a very good example of a knee loom. It has the concave area, which is excellent. You're sitting holding it between your knees. The area at the top is placed so that each or every other slat has a shoe peg in it to hold it from warping. The sections, your slats are rounded, your holes are good, and this one you can sit and weave as again probably 18 to 20 inches an hour's time. Here again, this is an 18th century pattern on this loom. On this loom now, you see here, this is a piece of birch. It's a very beautiful piece of wood, but it's not a good tape loom because these slats are very close together. The cuts here are very sharp, so that when you're moving your yarn up and down, you very often could just slice through your yarn ends. The holes could be larger, and in general, it's not a good piece. If I were sitting and weaving with this in a very short time, my knees would become very tired just holding this in position because of the weight. The secret of these knee looms, they should be lightweight in wood, where the box looms should be made of heavy wood.